So the Democrats held the floor in opposition to Jeff Sessions last night. Trump, of course, picked Sessions to become Attorney General. Elizabeth Warren was giving her speech against him, and then this happened.
In 2013, Senator Sessions voted against reauthorizing the Violence Against Women Act, a bill that expanded the protections and services provided to victims of sexual assault and domestic violence. There's a piece from the Bedford Minuteman that really tells the story of how sexual violence impacts Massachusetts. And this is what it said. They are mothers, daughters, sisters, fathers, sons, and brothers.
Mr. President.
They are...
Mr. President.
The Majority Leader.
The senators impugn the motives and conduct of our colleague from Alabama as warned by the chair. Senator Warren, quote, said Senator Sessions has used the awesome power of his office to chill the free exercise of the vote by black citizens. I call the senator to order under the provisions of Rule 19.
Mr. President.
The Senator from Massachusetts.
Mr. President, I am surprised that the words of Coretta Scott King are not suitable for debate in the United States Senate. I ask leave of the Senate to continue my remarks.
Is there objection?
Object.
I appeal the ruling.
Objection is heard. The senator will take her seat.
Mr. President, I appeal the ruling of the chair, and I suggest the absence of a quorum.
The clerk will call the roll.
They silenced her. And then 49 bitch Republicans voted to keep her mouth shut. No, this is something, I've never seen this before. Somebody tweeted at me last night, I'm fine with it because the Democrats would do the same. They didn't. They didn't. I've never seen this before. She started reading a letter from the widow of the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a letter about Jeff Sessions from Coretta Scott King. This was when Jeff Sessions was up to become a federal judge in the late 1980s. So Coretta Scott King said, no, I know his race record, and his race record is disastrous. So don't do it. Don't approve him. By the way, back then, Republicans said, his race record is disastrous. We're going to have to go ahead and not approve you. He couldn't get a lower federal court position back then because his record was that bad. So all Elizabeth Warren is doing is what, I don't know, fucking everybody does in the Senate. Let me go up there, say my piece, give my argument, tell you my position, tell you how I'm going to vote on this, try to sway people. That's the whole fucking point of the Senate. And Mitch McConnell goes, how dare you? You have impugned the integrity of the great Jeff Sessions. You have besmirched his name. Therefore, we're going to have to go ahead and censor you. This is fascinating because it appears like Mitch was triggered and he needed a safe space from that microaggression. How else am I supposed to interpret this? You said something I didn't like about you. So now we have to ban you and censor you and shut you the fuck up. I need everybody out there who considers themselves a free speech warrior to speak up. Where's the anger? Where's the outrage? Now, look, I'm consistent on this. I just did the segment the other day. I believe in free speech across the board, to the point where even when it's people I despise, if they want to go speak on a a college campus, by all means. I disagree with the protesters when they try to shut up, like Ben Shapiro or Milo Yiannopoulos or Steven Crowder or whoever. I don't give a fuck. Let those guys speak. Well, hello, all the right-wingers, where are you? I'm waiting. Well, don't do that. Come on, Mitch, what are you talking about? This is freedom of speech. Now, wait for it. The arguments are going to come out. Well, that's not technically the legal, constitutional free speech issue, because, see, what had happened was the sun was in their eyes, and that the way that the statute can be implemented is that you don't need to break the rules of the Senate, so therefore, it's okay in this instance specifically to censor her and shut her up. But whenever it's me and an issue I like and I agree with, in that case, how dare you ever shut us up? No. Be fucking consistent, because it's about the principle of the thing. Do you understand that? So, and this is why, again, I even take the side of the person who said the offensive thing or whatever it may be when it's corporations versus those people. Now, technically, a corporation does have the legal right to say, we don't like what you said and we don't want you to be a representative of our company, so we're just going to fire you. They have a legal right to do that. In other words, that does not violate the Constitution. But I always defend the people who say that because, to me, free speech is more than just about the constitutional right to free speech. So, in other words, the government can't throw you in jail or prison or take away your free speech rights. To me, it's about the principle of the thing. To me, even when, you do have the legal right to say, you know what, we're going to, fire you for that or censor you or ban you, I say, no, let the people speak, man. Let them speak, even if I vehemently disagree with them. Well, this is just such a clear case of this. By the way, that rule can be invoked all the fucking time. It is just a bullshit rule. This idea of, you've impugned the integrity of somebody else. Yeah, when you're giving a speech on the Senate floor and you're talking about political issues, guess what? You're gonna be disagreeing with somebody. Of course, yes, if I'm up there and I'm giving a speech and I'm talking about President Trump, do you have any idea how much I would go after him? And you could interpret anything I'm saying as impugning the integrity of him, even if I fucking quote him. Hey, we have to take out their families. We have to take out their families. Okay, well, so you want to do violence for a political reason against civilians. Well, let's look up the definition of that. That is the textbook definition of terrorism. Oh, how dare you impugn the integrity of President Trump. But I'm quoting him and giving you a definition. But you could spin anything as impugning the integrity. No, let her fucking speak. Let her speak. This isn't a question. This isn't a debate. And Mitch McConnell knows he's fucking wrong. Of course he knows he's wrong. So, spare me. And you want to know who is impugning the integrity of Jeff Sessions? Me. And anybody with a fucking brain. You're not violating a rule by impugning the integrity of Jeff Sessions. You're being intelligent. You're looking at his fucking record to do that. Did you know he has a 0% rating? 0 from the Human Rights Campaign, which means he sides against the LGBTQ community 100% of the time. And I'm supposed to sit here and be a gentleman and say, oh, it's okay, even though you're a loathsome bigot and an asshole, and your record and the policies you support prove that, I'll just sit here and act like it's all okay. Tee-hee-hee. So no opposition. No opposition. So for me to say you're a bigot because of your record, you've impugned his integrity. He impugned his own integrity. That's on him. He built that. I didn't make him vote against gays 100% of the time. Furthermore, we've discussed this before too. What's his approval rating? I think from the ACLU, 20-something%, something in the teens maybe. We went through his record in detail one day. How do you side against civil liberties, human rights, over 80% of the time? This is a guy who said, and I quote, "Good people don't smoke marijuana." And I'm supposed to bite my tongue. Elizabeth Warren's supposed to bite her tongue and not go up there and give you facts. She is quoting the widow of the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And nope, this is not open for debate or discussion. It's not like this is totally relevant when it's a letter from Coretta Scott King about approving Jeff Sessions in the 1980s for a federal judge position. I've never heard of anything more pertinent and more relevant than that. So, Mitch McConnell, you are a sleazy, loathsome cretin who wants to censor and ban all opinions that don't line up with yours. So now, they want to play this game. The gloves are fucking off. I've already had it up to here with Mitch McConnell with his fucking garbage where he was we covered the story yesterday. He's up there giving a speech. The Democrat obstruction is historic and extreme, and I've never seen anything like this. The Democrat obstruction. You literally broke the filibuster record. You literally broke the record for obstructing a Supreme Court justice with Merrick Garland. You went over a year and you didn't even have a hearing. Never mind having the hearing and then rejected him. You tried to repeal Obamacare over 60 times, and you have the nerve to talk about the obstruction of the Democrats when, by the way, even Elizabeth Warren has buckled and voted for Ben Carson to be the head of housing and urban development. Over 12 Democrats supported Pompeo for CIA head, much to my dismay. They should be obstructing people like Jeff Sessions because Jeff Sessions earned the obstruction, Mitch. It ain't equal. Don't give me some false equivalence bullshit. Merrick Garland, for all of his flaws, was a centrist, somewhat reasonable judge. Neil Gorsuch? He's not reasonable at all. He cried when Justice Scalia died. Justice Scalia, the guy who's an intellectual who says the devil is literally real. That guy, the guy who said blacks belong in slower track schools, the guy who wants to dismantle any and all campaign finance laws. This is what we're talking about? No, you earned the obstruction. And that's why you resort to tactics like this. So if I'm the Democrats, credit to Elizabeth Warren, because you know what you do in response to this? Now this clip has gone viral. People are looking at what the Republicans are doing. They see that they're for censorship and banning and shutting down the opposition by any means necessary. So now Elizabeth Warren's doing her interview circuit, going everywhere saying, look at these Republicans. They say we're extreme. I've never seen anything more extreme than this. You're winning hearts and minds. You're upping your chances of winning in the next election. And I would tell all the Democrats, do this. Do this. Oh, so you're gonna shut down Elizabeth Warren for quoting Coretta Scott King in the Senate. Every Democrat, get up there. I want that same fucking quote ready to go. And you're gonna make Mitch McConnell say, I'm invoking Rule 19 and saying that you have impugned the integrity because I don't believe in free speech and I'm a douchebag who tries to censor all dissenting opinions. So, yeah. We're going to have to shut you up. Ho-ho! All right, bitch. I'm going to make you shut every single one of them up. And then at the end of the day, how are you going to look? It appears like Mitch McConnell just banned over 40 Democratic senators from having their opinion heard on the Senate floor. And then they're going to scoff when we call them authoritarians. Motherfucker, you're so authoritarian, we need a new word to describe it. So I'm done with these clowns. All this garbage. Are you kidding me? This Democratic Party is a weak shell of itself. And you want to give facts about Jeff Sessions' record, and you want to quote Coretta Scott King about how bad he is. Censor, ban, shut down. You want obstruction, motherfucker? I'll give you obstruction. These clowns. Good on Elizabeth Warren for turning this situation into what it's supposed to be. The country rallying against an authoritarian buffoon. I want more of this. Because even if you don't have the numbers and you go down, you better go down swinging. Because that's what the country wants to see when we're talking about extremists like Jeff Sessions maybe becoming Attorney General.